Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees. It is, of course, June 12th. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, but unfortunately we do not have a student to lead us. If we all stand and face the flag, we will say it together, word for word. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen, may I have roll call, please?
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Model.
Here.
Trustee Paveza. Trustee Mytel.
Here.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa.
Here.
Mayor Straff.
Here. Are there any residents that would like to address the board at this time? Okay, we'll go through the consent agenda first, otherwise known as the omnibus vote. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Under minutes, we have 5A, approval of regular board meeting of May 22nd, 2017. Nothing under resolutions or ordinances. Under considerations, we have 8C, approval of recommendation to award contract for police squad car equipment installation. 8D, approval of recommendation to award contract for tree removal. 8E, ratification of approval of request for raffle license for Ray Graham Association and hosting facility license for Burbridge Village Center for charity event on June 11th, 2017. 8F, approval of vendor list in the amount of $667.30 for all funds, plus $489,258.17 for payroll, for a grand total of $702,925.47, which includes special expenditures of $86,777.28 to Schroeder Asphalt Services for payment number 1 on the 2017 road program, and $22,956.35 to Burbridge Bank and Trust for principal and interest on the installment loan for the County Line Road Burbridge Parkway landscape improvements. May I have a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda, which include 5A, 8C, D, E, and F?
So moved.
Second? Second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schiappa.
Yes.
Trustee Paveza.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Mattel.
Yes.
6-0.
All right, motion 0. We're on the ordinances. Under 6A, we have an ordinance that our Doug Pollock will be explaining to us.
Good evening. Thank you.
Reframing.
The first ordinance of two related ordinances to deny a special use for outside display of automobiles for the property at 16W 260 83rd Street. This is an industrial property where a potential tenant wants to run an automobile sales business. They'd asked for both indoors and outdoor sales. Plan Commission recommended denial of the outside sales and approval of the indoor sales. The first ordinance confirms their recommendation and your direction at your last board meeting to deny the outside sales. The second ordinance approves the indoor sales, and it includes the conditions recommended by both the Plan Commission and directed by the village board at the last meeting, including that all automobiles sold must meet specific sales values, including that all automobiles sold must be sold for at least $30,000, except that 15% may be sold for $10,000 to $29,000, and also that 75% of all automobiles sold must have an average sales price of $75,000. Those are the conditions that were put on Global Luxury Import, and the board had asked that they be included in this ordinance for this particular business. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You trustees have any questions for Doug? I know we hashed this out the last board meeting at length, but for anyone who's watching that does not recall that, does anyone have any questions of him? Okay, may I have a motion for 6A to the consideration of an ordinance denying special use pursuant to the Burbridge zoning ordinance to permit outdoor sales of automobiles in that district at 16W West 268 3rd Street. And we have to do a separate one for the approval, I imagine. We have a motion to approve the denial of 6A.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, any discussion?
No, wait a second. On 6A, what are we? Outdoor sales. I know, outdoor sales.
Outdoor display.
What are we approving? We're allowing sales or not?
Actually, we're limiting, we're saying that they cannot allow outdoor sales, and the next ordinance, we're going to approve the sale of indoor sales.
Right, you know, I thought that, well, we agreed, and the way it's written, consideration of an ordinance to permit outdoor sales, so
Denying a special use.
ordinance denying a special use, okay, I'm sorry.
It does get a little tricky. Now, we have a motion, a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Mattel?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0, and the second part of that is the consideration of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Burbridge zoning ordinance to permit the indoor sales of automobiles in the general industrial district, same one we just discussed, Z06-2017, located at 16W 260 83rd Street. Can I have a motion to approve 6B?
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Mattel?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, nothing under resolutions, under considerations. We have a presentation of the Emerald Ash Borer Annual Report by our Public Works Director, David Pricing.
Hey, good evening. I would normally make this really brief with about 3 to 5 slides, but in light of some of the new faces here at the dais, I thought I'll back you up about 9 years to kind of what got us to where we are today. And in summary, it's our annual presentation of the Emerald Ash Borer and what we do to treat, to remove, to monitor. And on the next slide, you can see, I'll take you back even more than 8 years, and actually 15 years ago this month, the Emerald Ash Borer was discovered in Michigan as the cause of decline for ash trees off one of the harbors, and they believe that was maybe brought over in some wood packing material from China. We can see that by 2008, then 6 years later, it had spread to approximately 8 states, and actually that year in 2008, it was detected in Burbridge. At the bottom page, you can see now in the present, it's well surpassed Illinois. It's all the way out to Colorado, and then as far east as, of course, as our coast. So it's taking over. Ash trees are becoming affected, but back in 2008, it was a little different strategy. Next slide. So the initial strategy after it was detected in St. James Court in July of 2008, it was kind of a statewide strategy to contain and quarantine. There was already a quarantine zone set up. You couldn't move firewood. You couldn't move cut wood. Ash trees had to kind of stay in place and be disposed of by licensed sawyers. And the thought was that we were going to kind of contain it by going out as a radius of treatment. A half a mile per year was kind of the natural progression of the way this beetle would fly. And we were going to treat those trees half a mile more at a time away from St. James Court. But unfortunately, in 2011, we had to kind of reevaluate. In that winter, they discovered that the EAB had far surpassed that half mile per year, and it was discovered now village-wide. So the immediate reaction was to treat these trees with a soil drench treatment again, but to treat every ash tree that we knew about. So the reevaluation process, and we had to refocus. In the next slide, we achieved a $20,000 grant from the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus to provide technical assistance. With that grant, We then developed an inventory. It was needed to inventory all our parkway trees, all of them, not just ash trees, but everything. See what we had to deal with, and that was their condition, and help to develop a management plan. We had GPS coordinates. We could bring that into a GIS. We could then kind of develop a plan and present that to residents and everyone else as well. One of the thoughts that came out of that too was that as a best rule of thumb, species more than 5% are overrepresented. Ash trees were coming in at almost 18%. The rule of thumb with that 5% is that what we learned now from the Dutch elm disease, as well as now from the emerald ash borer, is that some sort of parasite would take out no more than that. So we've got to kind of neck that down to achieve diversity. So we had about 12,000 trees, and the new plan now was to restrain the cost. So we had over 2,100 ash trees. If those were all affected at once, that would be quite catastrophic. So we needed a plan that would restrain the costs, would help control the mortality, improve our diversity, again, back to that 5% threshold, and really retain the neighborhood aesthetics. This picture here is not in a Burr Ridge Street. It is a neighborhood I'm very familiar with, but that's what happened. The EAB hit that hard, and it took it back to like the subdivision looked back in the 60s and 70s. A bare parkway with brand new small trees. So the managed decline scenario was discussed at some length after that study from the technical grant was concluded. And in March 2013, that was the way to go forward. We would prioritize treatments by the condition and by the size. We were looking at the best, healthiest trees and would want to treat those to try to maintain or get back down to that 5%. The selective removals, of course, as these things deteriorated, we would have to be able to remove them right away and replant. Once that tree is out, look at the neighborhood and see what makes sense. Again, we aren't going to be replanting ash trees. We're certainly not going to be replanting maple trees. They're well overrepresented too. So it's our village arborist has got a great program to try to replant based on a priority basis for location. And we would be flexible between the removals, between the treatments, and acting accordingly. The plan had to be flexible based on our annual evaluation. Again, by design, the ash trees need to decline to about a 5% to get back to that rule of thumb for species. So with that, the annual evaluation is looks like this. And now some of the trustees have seen this year after year. Around late May, well after Mother's Day, the ash trees are the last to leaf out. So they may look like they're declining compared to the rest, but they do come. And well after Mother's Day, our arborist goes out to evaluate these. Kind of the condition ratings based on this, a 1 would be an unaffected tree, a 5 would be stone dead, and it's got no leaves to it. Anything is removed, listed for removal immediately if it's got a condition of a 3, 4, or 5. So if it starts to look quite bare to no leaves at all, that's going to be listed for removal. We will monitor those again if the condition rating is 2 or better. So if it looks like a good tree, residents really think that a 3 is still healthy, and we get complaints about why did you take the tree down? Well, we know that it's going to decline further, so we target that for removal before it gets worse. So our next, this is our plan. We've been going at it for 3 years, and this is some of the numbers. More than 1,100 ash trees. That's about half have been removed. We had excellent performance by a contract the last few years, and then our in-house staff as well. And as I've been reporting for the last several years, our region is in the peak EAB infestation. Other neighborhoods are seeing the same thing. The non-treated ash in the forest preserves or private trees that have gone, those are being affected, so the beetle is still around in a high pressure. And we expect that as those trees that are untreated, forest preserves, et cetera, decline and die, that beetle dies on or moves on and there's nothing more to it. So we expect that pressure to decrease within 3 to 5 years. So in this last evaluation, we came up with about 211 trees for immediate removal. The arborist anticipates that about 270 would be the ideal contract amount to kind of maintain that flexibility. 211, we're going to start removing those towards the end of June. But as the summer progresses and as the beetle takes its effect, we expect that maybe 60 more or so, based on our history and observations, that maybe 60 more would perish. So we had budgeted for quite a bit more, 85,000, but our contract, holding the prices from our current contractor, which we've approved in the consent agenda on item 8D, really is about 67,000, so quite a bit less than what we budgeted for, thankfully. As a target, we're going to be looking for about 500, 550 trees, and we've got about 720 remaining after this last round of removal. So we're going to see how that declines year after year, and you'll see me again about the same time. We go back and we measure in the next slide. How's our program doing? We're kind of holding ourselves accountable. What's it working like? Before it used to be 18% of our urban forest. We're letting it decline somewhat at a monitored, controlled rate. Our treatments, even though it was 12% of the treated trees had declined to a removal list, that's to be expected based on just biology of the beetle and the way that the treatments work. So we're getting there. The treatments are working. We've got a pretty good success rate of over 88% of treated trees. We are constraining the costs, and we're maintaining the benefits. These trees do have a benefit to the parkways, to shade, to the aesthetics, and of course the stormwater. So we're managing our costs. The next steps after that, we are updating that inventory. It was last done in 2012, 2013 when the first technical study was done. As we take these trees down, we're updating it. We've got a new GIS platform that's a little more robust. We're going to get that up on the web, make that more publicized. And we maintain an accelerated parkway tree planting. We used to do just 40 to 60. We would be falling behind. We've upped it to 150. We do those in-house. We were very successful that way. We maintain them. We put a tree bag on them. We water them. We've had good success by doing that. And we save a lot of costs. Again, we're constraining the cost. It's $180 to $225 per tree. It's really double that if a contractor would have to plant that. So we're keeping those costs down by doing that in-house. And we'll continue to monitor this. Again, annually, at the end of May, we're going to look at our program. We look at it after the wintertime, after we've removed these. What else has declined? We report those numbers out. We remove and approve the contracts just in time to address the residents' needs and maintain that flexibility. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great statistics, by the way, and sounds like you've made a lot of progress. And how does our arborist feel overall about it?
He believes that we are ahead of the game now, where a few years ago we were kind of behind and catching up, and we had a large quantity of tree removals. We had 480 2 years ago. We're down to 211. So we're right at it. We have none that are hazardous. I forgot to say that. Even though they may look completely bare, they were green and thriving just last year. So they're not hazardous. They're not structurally going to break or fall.
How soon will the removal begin?
End of this month. We've got a contractor on board. It's the same contractor we've been working with. They know our streets. They know our system. And we'll mark those for removal right away.
Any questions of David? Thank you, David, for the report. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Francis?
Yes, I ask this every year. What's the success rate of our treatment program?
So we're at about 88%.
About 88%?
Right.
So, 88% of the trees that we treat survive.
Correct.
12% are removed.
Yep. We still have trees thriving that were right there in the heart of the EAB infestation in 2008. Treated trees, we treated those right away. They're still there.
And is it the trunk injection, the root drenching, or both? Combination of both?
It's a root drenching that we do. It's the imidacloprid soil drench treatment. So we do that in early April. Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Is there some preventative stuff that you can do, or that is it?
That is it. We evaluated different things. There is like you mentioned, an injection. They do sometimes do have an injection into the trunk of the tree. This is the fastest, easiest, most economical way to try to get that insecticide up into the tree.
And I saw some statistics about other trees being affected. Is that, do you see more cases being reported?
Of other ash trees or other species?
Maple and oak and all of those?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But that's why we try to get that diversity in place. And we're not planting maple trees. Of course, we don't have ash trees anymore to plant. But we're keeping those species varied.
Okay.
Anyone else? Once again, Dave, thank you very much. Moving on to 8B, consideration of Economic Development Committee recommendation to update the Economic Development Plan for fiscal year 17-18.
Yes, I'll handle that in a second. Oops. So the board will recall that we approved an economic development plan about a year ago.
And we said back then that we would review it and update it on an annual basis. And the Economic Development Committee has done just that. They met at their last meeting on May 16th, reviewed the plan, looked at the strategies and goals, and made the following recommendations to either remove or to consider completed the following items. One, encourage creation of a business association to address business-related concerns unique to the community, to promote business, communicate information, and be an advocate for positive change. This issue was discussed at the Economic Development Breakfast, was made part of the annual business survey, but it was determined that there was not enough interest among the businesses to pursue this strategy. So we're recommending that this be removed. Under Retail 3, and realize that we have recommendations or strategies for the industrial areas, the restaurants, the retail, and the hotels. And this was one in the retail area, improved wayfinding signage at entrances of the center along Burridge Parkway. We feel this was complete with the Village Center completing its sign renovation program in 2016. Retail number 7 was to work with owners of the County Line Square to develop a revised parking plan to increase the amount of parking space in the County Line Square Shopping Center. And those parking improvements to increase the space in County Line Square were approved and installed in 2016. Under Sub-Area 2.1 was to consider the possibility of rezoning a 15-acre office parcel zone at the northeast corner of the corporate park for residential use for both empty nesters and early nesters, thereby increasing the amount of potential shoppers and diners in the downtown area. As we all know, the village did rezone that property to R5 and approved the 52-unit residential empty nester subdivision on the property. There's been complications associated with that property regarding easements and covenants, and I believe they'll eventually be coming back to the village to unfortunately reduce the number of units. We're not going to be able to use all the property that they originally anticipated. So that development's not moving as forward as quickly as possible, but at least the property has been rezoned. Under Hotel 1, attract a full-service boutique hotel with conference facilities to complement existing hotels. We did not get the boutique hotel we're looking for, but we did approve the Hampton Inn and the Falls Event Center to work together to provide the hotel and conference facilities on the remaining parcel of the Estancia Office Park. You know that the hotel is under construction. The Falls Event Center is not. They have some continued parking issues, and whether or not they move forward or not, we're not sure at this point in time.
I have one addition to that, and that's, though we didn't attract a new boutique hotel, that's the way the new Crown Plaza is describing themselves. And based on the looks of their new accommodations, it certainly falls in that category of boutique with a lot of pictures of Chicagoland, and they're going to do one especially for Burr Ridge in the entranceway. So we at least we transformed one. So that's a positive thing.
And that's really the next item. Mayor, Hotel 2, Sub-Area 8.1, the same goal was to encourage the continued renovation of the existing Oaks Hotel. And as you indicated, the Oaks Hotel has been turned into a Crown Plaza, and it has opened. And so it is a nice addition to the community. So those are the items that the Economic Development Committee recommended to either, as they say, consider complete or to remove. And then in addition, they've recommended the following new goals. A new Retail 10, which is to encourage another Starbucks to be built on the north end of the village center. Restaurant number 9, encourage use of sunshades in lieu of umbrellas to complement outdoor dining. Sub-Area 1.4, conduct a traffic study at the entrance exit of the village center off Bridewell Drive to determine if the no left turn sign is still required. In Sub-Area 1.5, conduct a traffic study to determine ways to alleviate traffic backup coming from County Line Square Shopping Center onto Burridge Parkway. So these are the goals that they would like to add to the strategies and goals that are currently existing. The existing board members were given updates. The new board members were given brand new books that include these updates. And again, it's the recommendation of the Economic Development Committee that these changes and updates to the Economic Development Plan be approved.
Do we have to vote on anything, or is this just their recommendation?
Just accept the recommendation.
Trustee Francis?
Yes, I have some comments on what was handed out to us. What would be the best way to proceed with those? Well, now, can you call these up? Can you call this up? This is what you handed out to us in our
Yeah,
packets?
you know, I didn't. I don't have copies of that.
Okay, well, I'll try and add the best I can. So, you got some pictures here. I asked that we use the most current picture of the Village Center with the renovated, I'll hand this off to you, Steve, you don't take notes. The most current picture of the renovated Village Center Drive. Next comment is, yeah, same comment also. And then on page 25, there's a list of stores. Update the list of stores. It's the original list. Pretty easy to do. Page 26. Again, in Colline Square, update the list of stores. There have been some changes there as well. As will be current. If we're updating it, might as well make everything current.
Correct.
Take a lot of do that. One of the recommendations was for a traffic study coming out of Colline Square on the Burbridge Parkway. Who would pay for that? Would the owner pay for that?
No, it would be the village.
Village? Tell me, what do traffic studies cost?
Well, that's something that if you approve this goal, the staff would look into the cost.
Look into a cost, okay, so we're not, okay.
We wouldn't spend any money until we came back.
Backing up, a recommendation was to remove the no left turn sign. That's the pork chop there at the outlet of the Village Center that we had days and days of discussion on
Right.
when we were approving the.
Right, and there was the
Village
traffic
Center.
study saying that we absolutely had to have it.
Right. I remember, so recommending that, okay. But there'll be a study to determine that. Okay, so we'll get costs on all that, that's fine. And I think I had one other comment, and then also a question. No, it's a repeat comment. So my question was about, here, I'll hand these off to you. My question was about, you mentioned about the parking spaces at the Falls Event Center. That was a topic of lengthy discussion at the Falls Event Center. Was the shared parking between Falls Event Center and the adjacent office buildings, and is that still an issue, or?
Well, two things.
Hard there?
Well, two things. What happened, my understanding, and Doug could probably help me on this, but the owner of the other buildings basically said, you know, I thought we could allow you to use these other parking spaces as, you know, shared parking, and that was the whole premise. This was a PUD, and they could use shared parking. Well, guess what? We're not going to let you use that parking.
Oh.
And secondly, I think the thought is that, you know, they kind of downplayed the idea of these events during the day. That
Right.
they'd only have a few and they would be small.
Right.
Well, I think they started thinking, well, maybe we would want, you know, larger events.
More and better utilization of their facility.
Right. And so obviously they're limited to parking. And, you know, as was discussed way back when, and we've said this over and over again, people aren't going to build or develop unless they have enough parking. And it's kind of self-regulating as far as that goes, and the developer is questioning, does he have enough parking? And he's, you know, looking at potential alternatives for valet parking. He hasn't come up with any, and we haven't heard from him in a couple of months. So I'm not sure. Now, I do believe, though, he did purchase the property. And so, you know, what's ultimately going to happen, Doug and I had a conversation about this just the other day, and we want to get a hold of him and find out, whether from Colorado, I believe, or Salt Lake City, I forget where, but.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and we're going to have to get a hold of him and find out what the latest is and what their plans are, but that's the issue. That's
Okay.
what's holding it up.
Those are all questions that were raised during the public testimony and during the board discussion, so, okay, not surprising. Okay, thank you for the update. That's all I had. Thank you.
Any questions for Steve? Okay, I have a motion to approve the updating of the economic development plan.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Mattel?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes, can you turn the volume up just a little, please? I'm sorry, I'm having really struggle hearing everything.
Turn the
Thank
volume
you.
up.
No, maybe I should talk closer to the mic or Karen.
We'll all talk closer to the microphone.
Thank you, Di. Thank you, Guy.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Trabeza?
Yes.
6-0.
Tony.
Motion passes 6-0. Now we have under other considerations for announcement, deliberation, and/or discussion. No official action will be taken. Does anyone have any announcements they'd like to make or updates? Okay.
I just wanted to remind the new trustees, and I know Joe Snyder has signed up, but there are a couple of newly elected officials workshops. They were in my Friday memo the last few meetings. One is with the DuPage mayors and managers on Saturday, June 17th. And then the other is at the Illinois Municipal League. The closest one there is June 29th in Bolingbrook. There are other ones in other areas of the state, but I think that would be the one you'd want to go to. So I just remind Anita and Zach, if you're interested, I think they're worthwhile to attend, and suggest that you do so, at least one of them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Now back to the residents' comments. Any residents who'd like to address the board right now? Seeing no one, back to reports and communications from village officials. I have a couple of comments, but is there any other updates anyone like to kick in? Trustee Francis?
Another outstanding and successful car show yesterday at the Village Center. Over 140 cars, great attendance by the public, outstanding automobiles. We had some great supporters and organization by staff to make this car show, again, another great success. Appreciate all of those that attended and participated, and of course, our wonderful sponsors, Corvette Mike, and the other sponsors as well.
Good. Anyone else? I know Trustee Model, I thought you might want to give any updates on anything, but did you consider that too preliminary?
I could talk a little bit about it if you'd like to. Yeah. About the
Just efforts, ongoing efforts. And
perfect. Happy to share those updates. So, something that I know we've talked about in the past and residents have taken issue with is that we don't have our own zip code in Burr Ridge. When I was fortunate to be elected here, I thought, well, this is something we should try to work on. The mayor encouraged me to take this on. So I've had some conversations with our congressional delegation that represents Illinois. We're represented by 3 different congressmen, Roscom, Foster, and Lipinski. I've talked to all of them. They are all in support of Burr Ridge getting its own zip code and willing to help us. They also helped me do some research on the process for getting a zip code and shared with me some letters that other villages have used to start the process. So I will get that information to you and the staff, and you can take it from there. But the bottom line is we have a path forward, and it will come down to both a favorable response to a survey to all the residents. At least half of the residents need to respond affirmatively that they're interested. Then the post office will begin its internal review process, which how that works is not exactly clear, but things that can help make our case are points like we have over 500 businesses in the village here, which is pretty considerable given the size of the village. We're a divided village. We've got 2 counties, 3 Congress people representing us, a variety of other factors dividing the village. One zip code would certainly help unify and help keep the community together. Those 500 businesses have had issues getting packages both in and out and returned. It creates confusion for their customers. And then the residents have expressed the same thing. Confusion is my understanding of getting packages and deliveries. And it also comes down to an issue for insurance. You know, you are categorized by your zip code, and I suspect that if we had our own unique zip code, it might be favorable for both businesses and residents on their auto insurance, their homeowners insurance, all those types of things. So it might be a money-saving thing for residents as well as an identity thing. And I think there was one more point, but it's evading me at the moment.
The other point, I believe Trustee Francis helped uncover about a business that was erroneously
Yes.
labeled as Willowbrook, correct? Correct.
Right.
And so taxes were being paid to Willowbrook.
Right,
Sales taxes.
and in a time when budgets are tight, we need every dollar we can get here. We want to make sure that the businesses know where they're located and they're submitting their taxes to the correct municipality. So all of these reasons sounded like good reasons to the people I spoke with, and they encouraged us to get it moving and make our case to the post office. So we'll be hopefully getting that going soon.
Well, thank you for your efforts on that, and Trustee Francis for that. Also like to thank all the staff for the car show efforts. I brought one car there, and I know Trustee Francis brought two, and there's a lot of work involved just bringing a couple cars. I can't imagine with the work that the staff does, both the Village Center as well as Janet Kowal in particular, to make that car show as successful as it is. So thank them. Also thank their involvement since the last board meeting. We also had Run the Ridge, put on by Right Fit, Suzanne Gray, the amount of efforts put on by not only staff, but the police department and fire department. And it's just an incredible event. That's excellent. And also, I'd like to thank Joe Snyder for joining us tonight by telephone. He's at a noble endeavor to raise money for Misericordia tonight, and but he was able to phone in to be with us during it because you know, all these topics are very important. So thank you, Trustee Snyder. Now we have.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have a section for non-residents. Any non-residents like to address the board at this time? I see someone.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Cizek. I'm a former village trustee. I have several items to bring to the board this evening. First of all, at the last board meeting, I talked about the West Suburban Concert Band, which I think is very good, and I gave incorrect information about their appearance in LaGrange Park because I was given incorrect information. In any event, their concert over there will be Wednesday, June 28th. I believe it starts at 7 o'clock. It's at Memorial Park, which is just north of the shopping center on the Grange Road. And as you know, they have appeared several times at the Veterans Program, and they are very good. Secondly, exactly 6 months ago tonight at this meeting, the former superintendent of Public Works gave a very sizable, extremely sizable donation to this village of $10,000 and $5,000 to the Burr Ridge Park District. I thought that was exceedingly generous of Howard Heil, and I hope that the village has properly acknowledged this donation, because in my judgment, while I was on the board, I always felt that the reason Howard left the village in his position was that he was pushed out. In any event, I thought that was very generous of him to make those donations. Number 3, the report that was just given, 8A, on the EAB program, I thought was very thorough. I have 2 questions. Was the tree purchase bid? And the second question is the tree planting bid? Because it seemed to me that $100 to $150 to plant the tree is very expensive. My 4th item pertains to culture. About 10 days ago, I received this flyer in the mail from the Western Springs Theater Association. They are in their 89th season. My daughter, who recently passed away at age only 57, when she was a teenager, she was in the Children's Theater at the Theater of Western Springs. Last October, the Willowbrook Ballroom in Willow Springs practically burned to the ground. But there is an effort being made to rebuild. Would you pass that around, please, Tony? And the thought goes through my mind, what culture is there in this village? As far as I can see, the Economic Development Committee only concerns itself with attracting businesses and more revenue to the village. But there's no culture here. You have a bunch of restaurants and Victoria's Secret. And now you want to do a second Starbucks on the north end of the village center. I think this village can do a lot better. I lived here almost 50 years on County Line Road, and I really would like to see some culture in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Dolores. And just as a footnote to all that, the effort to have Willowbrook Ballroom rise from the ashes, the latest price tag in that is a $23 million project, and we wish them well in their fundraising and efforts to do that. That's a major undertaking. Okay, we are now going to move to the closed session to discuss the following items. The approval of closed session minutes, February 27, 2017. Approval of closed session minutes of March 14, 2017. C, the collective bargaining issues. We're going to add back in one item for employment of employee. Now, I would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and I'd like to excuse everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll be coming back.
Need a motion on that,
And,
go into closed
and
session.
I'm sorry?
Need a motion to go into closed session.
Sorry,
For those reasons.
afterward? Okay, that's fine.
No, right now.
Right. No, we need a motion to go into closed session to discuss those items I just mentioned.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Scalpa.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes?
Trustee Model.
Yes?
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Mitel.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, motion passed 6-0. Thank you again for joining us.
And there will be a reconvened meeting.
Right.
For anybody who wants to stick around, but I wouldn't worry about it. Call me in the morning.